with complex other molecules, carbon has been very, very successful in the development of new forms of matter. In fact, biological matter, ourselves. We wouldn't be talking about this unless carbon existed. There's also another aspect about carbon, which is probably least favored, which is the very stable condition of CO2. Now, CO2 is a particular molecule. It is a very stable molecule, and it forms double bonds with oxygens. This creates a gas, which is CO2 gas. CO2 gas is actually a little bit heavier than the atmosphere, but because of turbulent motion, it can travel into and dissipate into densities all the way across the world. Now, CO2 is known because one of its properties, its photothermal properties, which is that it can take sunlight and it can convert sunlight into heat. And thus we have this context in which we take CO2 as being the culprit, or at least one of the contributors to global warming. However, very few people know that nowadays there's much hope across the horizon because CO2 investigation and studies on CO2 recycling and recapturing are taking a place across the world. CO2, in fact, has been studied as a potential to be injected in the substrates of soil, where acting as an acid and acting as a solvent can mix with different types of carboxyls to create carbonate salts. And perhaps this is one solution. Another solution is the ability to take CO2 and inject it into the very depths of the ocean, where at this very high pressures and temperatures, what happens is that the CO2 molecule can form crystals using the surrounding seawater and therefore deposit onto the substrate of the ocean for very, very long periods of time. Of course, the most common and the most sustainable process for CO2 recapturing is invested in plants through the process of photosynthesis, where the photosynthetic process can actually create a fission between carbon and oxygen, liberating the oxygen and then capturing the carbon into the wood form or cellulose forms. However, nowadays, because of the scientific progress and the innovations of many intelligent and very creative people across the world, new types of systems are being put into place, such as polymers with minerals, perhaps, that have the capacity to absorb excess CO2. Other forms are growing specific types of organisms like mycelium, which do exudate CO2 in terms of its respiration. However, they do capture carbon in the form of acetylglucosamine, which is a type of biopolymer. So I wanted to kind of start this conversation, and perhaps maybe Aldo, I can start from your end. I'm really fascinating with the type of work that you do, just in general. I had the pleasure of assisting to one of your presentations this year regarding fashion and how fashion could change completely according to computational design and applications of materials. And I'm also very excited about this material that you're proposing, the WearPure Tech. I'm wondering if you could kind of go into detail regarding that and explain to the public what it is.
Absolutely, Robert. Thanks for the invitation, everyone, to you and Valerie and all the organization. That's a fantastic opportunity to discuss together, I guess, novel solutions that are arising in the market. And thanks for your very clear introduction. Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna share the screen.
Please do.
I will just take a few minutes to introduce you to our technology. Okay, so you can see it. I'm gonna present you, as you said, the WearPure Tech project, and we're gonna start with a video. Okay, so WearPure Tech is a special technology which has the ability to absorb carbon dioxide from our environments, as trees are doing, the trees that you were also mentioning before, no? Trees are using the energy of sunlight to absorb pollution, And what we are doing is that we are integrating in this new material compound exactly the same capabilities, not the same process, but the same capabilities. And what we are doing through this implementation from an initial powder, we are engineering a new polymer that can also be implemented in 3D printing for advanced textiles. And you're going to also see application in construction and architecture. So, Robert, you were mentioning before topics related to global warming in general. I mean, there is a very interesting book about that Timothy Morton wrote about being ecological and how to assess even the discourse, the dialogue around climate impact. I would rather consider these phenomena as challenges for our intelligentsia, I would say, for all the creativity and the innovation environment to propose solutions that can really heal our ecosystems, starting from a transformation from the industry and also, why not, a change of behaviors in terms of habits of our society. So what we are proposing here is a series of technologies that can, as we said before, act like trees and start to potentially purify the air we breathe. This is the initial and the triggering solution that is allowing all the different surfaces that we're going to present today to absorb pollution from the air, and is a CO2 pure powder developed by the team of PrimeLab in Valencia. And what we did together with them, let me get a little bit more in detail first on how this natural compound works. Through three different processes of photocatalysis, catalysis, and vitrification, we are converting the main greenhouse gases like nitrogen oxide, volatile organic compounds, and CO2 into carbonates, nitrates, and nitrates. This process can also be implemented through different industrial application into multiple surface, from textiles to, as I was saying before, polymer for construction, and as well advanced textiles in fashion tech. As I was saying before, these are the three different sectors that through design we are exploring during this year. So fashion, product design, and construction. And talking a little bit more in deep about fashion, we can detect, increased demand of sustainable solution in fashion in the last year, but still the product that are still nowadays matching these characteristics only occupy the 2% of all the market sector. What we are proposing is let's consider it an added value. So a layer of technology that can be implemented over all the different textiles that are already present in the market. So it's an added value, we will want to consider it, that can drastically reduce the carbon footprint of materials that are already in the market. And talking about the discovery, talking about also what we are learning, talking with our potential customers and clients, of course, is this trend in terms of sustainable fashion that is increasing, but on the other side, the implementation between material innovation and textile technologies, how to mix these two ingredients in order to really create and trigger an innovation process. An innovation process that can be also associated to a new manufacturing protocol connecting to 3D printing. And we also started to make projection. Now, what could happen if we start to implement this material technology in the sector of fast fashion, for instance, over the garments that Zara is producing? And in that case, we could be talking about the absorption of 81,000 of greenhouse gases per year, which is more or less the equivalent of 1.5 years of car pollution in Mumbai. And it starts to be, as I was saying before, quite an interesting scenario. In terms of our team, as I was saying, we are collaborating. This is, I think, collaboration in general is the key aspect of all the process of innovation. And we are collaborating with the team of PrimeLab. They are experts in material engineering, biomolecular engineers. And then on our side, the aspect of computation and advanced manufacturing, they are always producing products and solutions that we always also certify. This is extremely important, no, in the terms of innovation, how to validate at the end all the discoveries that we are producing. We certify with the University of Alicante. And just to quickly, I don't want to speak too much, talk about the solution that we propose so far. Of course, when you talk about technology, you need to reach through probably design people, no? And you need to make this new technology accessible. That's why we started to launch a new collection, a new series of garments that can also represent the workflow and pipeline that we are expert here in Numena, through digital design, the implementation of software for simulation, and the introduction of all these digital forces into the shape of new textiles that can also adapt to the local transformation that the garment needs to perceive. And the implementation of CFD analysis and simulation in order even to increase the technology and the adaptation of this novel skin that can be also 3D printed using our materials. And these are some of the looks that we produce so far. So this is the ACT collection that was presented in the last Fashion Digital Night week in Rome. And then the last jacket also presented in the Milano Design Week in Italy a couple of months ago. And on the other side, we also started to implement this new solution as well, as I was saying before, all implementing the powder and then TPU filament and pellet for a series of products that are already in the market with our mask, with our t-shirts and long sleeves, shoes, pants, and so on. And just quickly also jump into another scale, how to work with this material for 3D printing at the architectural level. And this is the next pavilion of Spain for the Expo Dubai that we will start to print in the following weeks. For the next expo. It was supposed to be done in 2020, but now it's been postponed. And these are some of columns that we also want to fabricate, 142 trees, actually, not digital trees, that will act like normal tree does, absorbing CO2 and also creating energy with a system of photoreactors. And these are some 3D printed columns that we also started to fabricate. And this is instead another store that we are exactly now finishing to assemble under the Burj Khalifa bowl in Dubai. And it's another store printed with all our material that are absorbing CO2 that also we discover are fire retardant, so are very useful in terms of legislation. And they passed all the certification. We go back to this topic that are necessary to implement this novel solution in a retail environment. And as well, we talk a lot and work a lot at the scale of product design. And these are other tables and chairs designed by external reference as the Pavilion of Spain and manufactured by our 3D printing unit. And yeah, some recognition that we got and publication. So thank you for your attention.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's a really amazing. I can see designs and 3D technology. I see that you're very invested in 3D technology and the use of printing for these applications. I'm wondering, if you could go into some depth about maybe some of the challenges that you've had during the development of material.
Absolutely. Thanks for your question. We still have a lot of challenges. Everything, as I was saying before, starts from here, from this powder. And through a process of compound, we applied this powder over polymers, in this case, pellet, and then TPU filament, as the one that you see here. One important challenge is how to balance the integration of this powder over the substrate that is hosting them, this material. We had to do a lot of different tests to even maintain and keep not only the fabrication capabilities, but also the performance, the mechanical performance, and the tactile sensation that also normal textile has. And this is also a textile, a normal t-shirt that is embedded with our powder. And another complexity on the other side, which is also quite difficult, was how from this research, so from all this discovery, create a supply chain from the industry of polymers to the industry of textiles and fashion that could also in sort of a sustainable manner provide materials and solutions. So we work with companies that are off-grid in terms of energy needed, and on the other side we only work with certified materials that are coming from an ethical fashion, an ethical pipeline. So these are quite complex scenarios. Are very easy to say and talk about those concepts in a conference, but very complex to fit all these different aspects into production and supply chain.
Sure thing. You know, I was appreciating the organic designs that are present, you know, created by these computer modeling structures which optimize, and you know, they create these new volumes and perhaps flexibility. This reminds me a lot of, you know, also how naturally microorganisms also develop and create their systems of communication and perhaps their linkages between, you know, between proteins. And like I wanted to take advantage to also present the fantastic work that Kyung Lee is also working on. He's developing systems using mycelium. And for some of our audience that are probably not so familiar with mycelium, these are organic structures which are I would say the alpha phase of mushrooms when they are in their dormant and vegetative state. And Kyung Lee is working with these organisms to create structures, to create you know, furniture, lamps, and systems. So Kyung, I would like to invite you perhaps to the discussion. Could you please describe your project to us, your project focus, and your creative process?
Yes, wait a moment. Okay. Thanks for inviting this round table. And then recently, the COVID-19 made me not to go abroad, and my English skill become not good at this round table. So the interpreter G1 will help us to proceed smoothly today. Yeah. Please understand to this. Okay. My name is Gyu-hyun, based in Seoul, South Korea, and I'm working at Promhance as a creative director. So, okay, now I started in Korean. Yeah, Jiwon will interpreter will help us. 오늘 제가 여러분들과 공유할 프로젝트는 버섯 균사를 활용하여 진행했던 마이슬이라는 기업과 진행한 프로젝트입니다. 이 프로젝트는 네이버 디자인의 기획으로 매칭되어 진행하였다는 점을 미리 알려드립니다.
So hello, you could hear me right? So I'm gonna be on behalf of Kyu-hyun Lee, which is a designer from Promhance, as he introduced. He's based in Seoul, and he's gonna present his project, which was collaborated with the Mycel, and the company uses the mycelium to create a biomaterial. And this project is supported by Naver Design. Naver is a Korean company like Google, and he will show about his ideas and the project.
버섯 균사는 여러분들도 잘 아실 것이라 생각됩니다. 일정한 온도와 습도 그리고 영양분의 공급으로 인공적으로 배양을 하고 후가공을 통해 사용하기 위해 다양한 개발 방법들이 시도되어지고 있습니다. 이번 프로젝트는 단순히 오브제를 만들어내는 것이 목표가 아닌 개발 공정에 대한 목표가 되는 프로젝트였습니다. 그래서 몇 가지 아이디어 중 실현을 시킨 2가지에 대해서 오늘 이 자리에서 소개해드리도록 하겠습니다.
So as you might have heard of about mycelium, to cultivate this mycelium, it is very important the temperature, the humidity, and the supply of the nutrition, and the post-process to use it as a certain material. So there are many intents in many places, and for this mycel and this designer, their objective is not creating decorative product only, but it's about the whole developing process. So they had some challenges to get to the research, and the designer, will present 2 of the ideas that he made.
결론적으로 프로젝트의 결과물은 지금 보시는 이미지와 같습니다. 조명과 데코 타일로서 표현하였지만 중요한 것은 이 형상이 아니라 어떻게 이것을 만들어 갔는지 이 과정이 중요합니다.
So the result, let's say the final product is this one, as you can see on the image. It's decorative tiles and the lamps, the lighting lamps. But now, from now, the important part would be how to reach or how to create this material.
이 프로젝트의 챌린지 상황은 총 2가지였는데요. 첫 번째는 마이셀은 현대자동차의 사내의 신소재 개발팀으로 시작하여 올해 초 스핀오프한 스타트업 기업입니다. 즉 마이셀은 궁극적으로 소재 전문 기업을 향하고 있지만 경영적 측면으로 자동차의 내장재를 무시할 수 없는 상황입니다. 이에 걸맞게 마이셀에서는 현재 개발 중이고 완성에 다다른 것이 버섯 균사를 활용한 인공 가죽입니다. 하지만 단단한 자동차 대시보트 같은 것을 만들 만한 소재를 개발하지는 못하고 있었습니다.
So there were 2 challenges confronted by this project. The first one was that the mycel is a spin-off company from the Hyundai Motors, and they were in the department of creating new materials. So they are focused on creating materials, but they also, as they are from the Hyundai Motors, they were their focus on the materials of the car is very important. So with this mycelium, they are developing now, and they are almost there. That they created the alternative of the leather. In the car side, there is a leather part in the car seats. So they are now creating the replacement of that. But also they could replace the dashboard, the solid part of the car, and they are still working on to create this kind of solid and hard material to be replaced in a car.
이것이 현재 마이셀에서 완성 수준에 다다른 가죽입니다. 현재는 이 소재를 패션 산업의 가방이나 같은 거북 제품을 대체하기 위해 노력하고 있습니다.
So this is the image of the alternative leather that mycel made. It's almost finished, and this could be replaced, or this could be the substitute of the fashion industry as a leather for the bags or for the clothes also. And they are trying to distribute this material in the fashion industry.
두 번째 챌린지는 가공법 중 보유하고 있는 시설들과 기계들의 활용입니다. 마이셀에는 여러 시설들이 있는데 배양을 위한 시설과 그리고 가죽을 만들 때 압착하기 위해 쓰는 그 프레스 기계가 있어 최대한 이 시설들을 그대로 활용하고 추가적인 시설 투자 없이 만들어내는 방법이 중요했습니다.
So the second challenge for the mycel is how to use their methods to cultivate and to create this material. my cell has a different installation for the cultivation, and they have the compress or pressing machines for this mycelium based leather. So they would like to use all these tools, not investing too much money to buy or to create more tools. So they needed to find they needed to discover a method to use this fully.
결론적으로 프로젝트의 목표는 어떻게 버섯 균사를 단단한 소재로 만들 수 있을까입니다.
So as a result, the goal of the project is how to make it even more solid, harder. This material made of mycelium.
첫 번째 아이디어는 어렸을 적 풍선에 종이죽을 바르고 건조시켜서 단단하게 만들어서 그것을 뭐 가면으로 만들어 쓰고 놀았던 것에서 착안하였습니다. 천연 막근으로 풍선 주변을 감싸고 건조시킨 후에 풍선을 터뜨리면 풍선과 같은 형상이 남게 되는 것이죠. 이것에 버섯 균사를 배양하여 자연스러운 오브제를 만들 수 있을 것이라고 생각했습니다.
So the first idea comes from his childhood. He kind of when he made the mask, you kind of put on the balloon, you put the paper glue so that you could fix the form. And from this idea, he used the balloon and the thread. And if you put the air of the balloon, then you could make the circular form. And then you put the thread outside. And then if you just poke it with a needle, then you could take out the balloon form, and the thread stays still. And then on that surface, you kind of cover it with mycelium. Then you could make this round form without any kind of complicated method.
천연 막근으로 풍선 주변을 감싸고 건조시킨 후 풍선을 터뜨리면 풍선과 같은 형상이 남게 됩니다. 이것에 버섯 균사를 배양하여 자연스러운 오브제를 만든 것입니다.
So as I said before, well, he used the thread, which is made of the flax, and then when you dry it, once it is dried, you poke it with a needle, the balloon. And then you just cultivate the mycelium, covering the surface. Then it could be an object, like a natural object.
첫 번째 오브제의 영감은 강아지 풀과 같은 식물에서 따왔습니다. 마침 시장에 길쭉한 형상의 풍선들도 어렵지 않게 구할 수 있었고요.
The first model is inspired from the plant, which is I think it's called foxtail or bristlegrass. So also you could in the market you could easily find the long shaped balloon.
그래서 렌더링 시뮬레이션을 거치고 구조물을 만들어 배양을 시작했습니다.
So after the rendering simulation, he made this construction, this form, and then he started the cultivation of the mycelium.
배양을 하고 난 첫 모습입니다. 자연스럽게 배양이 되어질 거라는 예상과는 다르게 형상이 여기저기 무너지는 등 문제가 이곳저곳 보였습니다. 우선 가장 큰 문제는 단단했던 막근이 용액을 머금으면서 단단하지 않고 흐물거렸다는 점입니다.
So this is the first try of the form. So it is not as intended. The form is not smooth enough. This happened because the form of thread, it kind of got melted when it mixed with the mycelium. So that was the problem that the challenge that they found at the first try.
결국 이를 보완하기 위해 동양권에서 사용하고 있는 오칠을 사용해서 오칠을 하여 표면을 좀 단단하게 만들고 컬러감을 주어 이를 보완하였습니다.
So to make this better, in Asia, this is a very common method. It's using the varnish or apply the lacquer. So with this, you could add also the color, and it could make the surface even more solid. So he could make the foam a bit more smoother, but with a harder texture.
두 번째 아이디어입니다. 버섯 균사에 칡뿌리의 부산물을 배양할 때 같이 넣어 조직감이 생기게 하여 단단하게 만들고 이를 한 번 더 프레스로 가공하여 압착하여 더욱 단단한 소재로 만들 수 있을지 않을까 하는 아이디어였습니다.
So this is about the second idea. He used the mycelium. He mixed during the cultivation. He mixed it with the plant roots. The plant is called kuzu root, and he mixed with it, and then he cultivated together so that it could create a sort of a texture, and also it make the solid surface. And then he used the pressing process so that it could be hard, solid material after that.
한 번 더 프레스로 압착하여 더욱 단단한 소재로 만드는데 이런 이미지와 같은 가죽 가공 프로세스를 활용한 것이었습니다.
So once more, he used the compression process to make it harder, and this is the method when you create a leather.
이 오브제의 모티브는 조개에서 따왔는데 벽에 장식할 수 있는 타일로 만드는 것으로 생각을 하였고요. 오른쪽에 보이는 이미지의 눈금은 소비자가 직접 집의 벽에 시공을 할 때 위치를 맞추고 붙이기 쉽게 하기 위한 아이디어였습니다.
So the motive of this object is from the shell, as you can see on the image. On the right side, on the product, you could see the marked parts, and this is for the customers. They could kind of calculate by themselves on the wall, so they use it better. They could easily put it on the wall without any complication.
형상대로 키우기 위해서는 배양을 위한 그릇이 우선 필요했습니다. 그래서 보시는 이미지와 같이 베큐um 포밍의 제조 방법으로 그릇을 만들었습니다. 이 그릇에 칡뿌리 부산물과 버섯 균사를 넣고 배양기에 넣고 배양을 하게 되는 것입니다.
So as you can see on the image, the method to create it is using the vacuum foaming, and then on this plate he put the plant paste, the byproduct of the plant, and the mycelium, and then inside of the machine for the cultivation, he kind of grew this material.
배양을 마치고 난 모습입니다. 프레스로 압력을 가하기 전인데요. 칡뿌리 때문에 조직감이 있어 적당한 강도를 유지하고 있었지만 모서리와 같은 부분은 쉽게 부서져 버렸습니다.
So this is after the cultivation, the foam that he got from the cultivation. So it's before the process of compression, but maybe it's because of the texture of the plant's root. But you could see the final part. They kind of got destroyed. It was not hard enough.
배양된 것을 프레스 기계로 압착하는데 이때 강한 열과 수분을 공급해서 찌듯이 압착합니다. 그래서 프레스 금형에서 수분을 빼내기 위한 구멍이 필요한 등 조금 금형의 기술들이 필요했습니다.
So to create this foam, they needed to use the compression or press machine. And in this method, you need a lot of heat, high heat, and the moisture. It's like the cooking. You need the heat and this humidity. And also on this foam, there must be kind of stored holes to get rid of this moisture out during the process.
최종적으로는 안료로 색상을 염색하는 것으로 마무리하였고, 현재 이 데코타일 같은 경우는 성공적으로 마무리되어서 양산을 위한 준비를 하고 있습니다. 추가 연구 중 알게 된 것이 이 소재의 방음제로서의 가능성이었습니다. 따라서 향후 시장에 음악 녹음실 같은 곳에서 쓰는 방음제의 포지션으로 시장에 진출을 할 예정입니다. 곧 시장에서 만나볼 수 있었으면 하는 바람입니다.
So the final process was putting the pigment on this on the shape. So now it is almost finished as a decorative tile for the interior design. And during this process, he kind of discovered that also this material has the function of the soundproof. So it also he kind of found another possibility, use this material and use this product as a sound insulation, a part of this decorative motif. And so well, he's working on making this happen, and then now it's about to become real products in the market. So he kind of shared his experience, ideas with mycelium, and hope to see this this idea project as a good research. And thank you.
Well, thank you, Kyujun. That's really amazing. As someone who is particularly interested myself in mycelium in general, I've always had some trouble sometimes with the problem of contamination between when the mycelia are growing and other forms of bacteria. Could you let the speakers know how you overcame that issue, or if that was an issue during the design?
앞서 말씀드린 대로 이 배양하는 환경이 굉장히 중요한데 그 조금의 다른 배양에 다른 균이 들어오거나 뭐 그런 환경이 되면은 균은 그냥 다 죽어버리고 배양이 되지 않았습니다. 그리고 그래서 첫 번째 아이디어였던 그 막근으로 하는 경우에는 막근에 어쩔 수 없이 다른 균이 묻을 수 있었기 때문에 그 배양이 골고루 되지 않았던 것이 가장 큰 문제였습니다.
So for during the presentation, he kind of mentioned the condition of cultivation is very important for mycelium. So if there's another components coming to this cultivation process, then everything changes. So on the first idea, when he used the balloon and the thread, he also had the case that there was another condition from outside coming to this process. So everything, the temperature and the humidity should be certain, but it also got changed. So maintaining this kind of condition is quite important.
Right, it seems very interesting.
One
Go
more
ahead.
thing. 그리고 또 한 가지는 그 버섯 균사에서 나는 특유의 냄새인데요. 이 냄새를 어떻게 없애는가가 향후 이 소재가 실제 사람들이 사용할 수 있는 상품이 될 수 있을지 없을지의 중요한 관건이 될 것이라고 생각합니다.
Also, he kind of mentioned that the smell, the special smell that has the mycelium, get rid of this smell is it will be very important to make this material to be used in the real market.
Right, that's a very good point. Like some of the other senses that we are accustomed to having when we are talking about different types of materials and the natural smells that they have could be an issue. I agree on that term. What I'm interested, perhaps, I'm seeing a lot of patterns here, like the idea of mycelium growing, the idea of them growing into a pattern, the idea of the fact that mycelium in general, they breathe oxygen and they emit CO2. So I'm wondering, maybe Aldo, maybe you could enlighten me in this sense. do you think it would be possible to join these materials together? Could we grow mycelium on Ware PureTech? Because one would absorb CO2 and perhaps create mineral deposits, which would enable the mycelium to grow better or faster, or maybe together. What do you think about that?
I think maybe it's not a coincidence that you put us together, no? Someone that was probably part of a master plan. Okay, I take the challenge. No, it makes totally sense what you said, and from our side we will be very interested in experimenting, with Lee this possibility. Why not? We could make this connection, and it's kind of also interesting because we've been working with mycelium. We wrote a paper on how to computationally detect the growth of mycelium and establish also in a control environment the way that this material could grow over threads, which is something that also I really appreciated from the presentation that Lee did. So, we could actually join a series of different spots that we left open, of our research line, and integrate the material from CO2 Pure to maybe close the loop.
Yes, it would be interesting also, given the known fact that mycelium, and I'm not exactly sure which specific type of mycelium Kyuyung Lee is using, perhaps Ganoderma lucidum or Aspergillus tubingensis, I'm not sure, but a lot of these different types of mycelium have always also displayed the capacity of synthesizing even polymers. So it would be interesting, even from the reverse aspect, is to see if perhaps, somewhere down the line, the integration of mycelium with Ware PureTech would actually create, at first, a different material, and then secondly, an ecosystem, perhaps, of a way of digesting Ware PureTech and I'm assuming, clays that Ware PureTech has in terms of mineral enrichment. Kyuyung, what other material applications you think, besides transportation, you think mycelium could have in the future?
아직 구체적으로 생각은 해보지 않았지만 일단 대체적으로 그냥 소재의 특성으로 생각해 볼 수 있을 것 같습니다. 부드러운 부들부들한 소재냐, 단단하게 만들 수 있는 소재냐, 그 안에서 이제 강성이 어떻게 나오느냐에 따라 그 기존 소재들을 어떻게 대체할 수 있을지는 추후에 논의를 할 수 있지 않을까 싶습니다.
So he haven't thought about with a lot of detail for this feature, but he think it could depend on the characteristic of the material. As during the presentation, he explained of the softness or the even more solid one. So it depends on how you get the material softer or more solid, then you will find a different results from it. So it could be leather, it could be the cardboard of the car, and there should be more use of this material, depends of this hardness.
Interesting. Aldo, you were showing something in your screen earlier.
Sorry, but I didn't brought it before, but after the presentation, this is a research that we presented in Acadia in 2015, I guess. And it was the combination of 3D printing and mycelium. This was a joint for a structure, and we were also using these holes to integrate threads and then grow mycelium over it. So, I mean, it could be interesting maybe to use one of our PLA filament with CO2 Pure, and maybe as a mode to grow mycelium and create this kind of components now. It was a very interesting experiment that we did, and maybe with Lee we can
yes, that sounds fantastic. There's other aspects which both of you, when you were presenting, I was starting to get inspired with some ideas. And Aldo, you were mentioning earlier that one of the difficulties, as would be logical, is how to integrate these clay or mineral compositions into or onto the polymers. But there's also the other aspect, which is the nano aspect. And I wanted to give you some feedback on that. And this even corresponds to what Kyu-Young Lee was talking about, which is one of the advantages of mushrooms is they create these really small structures, sometimes nanostructures. In fact, if you took WearPureTech and you were to electrospin this into nanofibers, you would probably get even a higher surface exposure and CO2 recovery from that process. And on the other hand, something that a tip that could be done from your end, Kyu-Young, would be to perhaps try to grow the mycelium as flat as possible, perhaps by using paints that could be used with like potato dextrose, so that you could grow the mycelium in flat panels. And maybe this would be a way to integrate the two. What do you think about that? Do you think that could be done?
해석 좀 해주세요. Wait a moment. Could you repeat again? I can understand
Of
you.
course. Yes,
okay.
of course. So one question is, you were showing the idea of growing the mycelium on a balloon, on a 3D structure. Yeah, and so you're creating a layer of the material. I'm wondering if another way to create a material would be to use a paint that you could paint on top of a surface, and without the reinforcement of fibers, then create a textile. Because Aldo works in the field of fashion and of course also construction. But fashion seems to be one of the biggest, along with construction, seems to be one of the biggest offenders in terms of CO2 emissions and materials. Do you think that would be possible to grow mycelium as a thin textile?
Okay, I understand. 일단 그 버섯 균사 같은 경우에는 현재 가장 문제가 그 조직이 단단하지 않아서 종이같이 손으로 찢어지는 거에 대한 문제가 있습니다. 그래서 지금 현재 수준에서는 일정 수준의 두께를 유지해야 하고, 뭐 일단 여기까지 해주세요.
네. So for now, the current problem of this mycelium, or the limit of mycelium as a material, is that it's not hard enough. So you could like tear it as like a paper. So you need to maintain the certain, let's say, it can't be really, really thin for now with the technology that they have. So it's the part that they should be working on. So to make it thin enough to use it, as you mentioned, I think there are some works to do.
Okay.
그래서 지금 시도해보고 있는 것이 두 번째 아이디어를 좀 섞는 건데요. 그 칡뿌리를 배양할 때 똑같이 얇게 배양을 해서 그거를 다시 프레스로 압착해서 조직감을 만들어서 찢어지는 현상을 좀 줄이는 것을 지금 연구 중에 있습니다.
So now mixing with the second idea that he said, mixing with the plant roots to make the hard texture. So with applying the second method, then they could kind of mix this roots a little bit less, and then make the thin layer. Then it could be possible. They're still working on it, but it could be possible to make a thinner and the flat layer that you mentioned.
Okay, that's interesting. Also, there could be another solution, which is to perhaps grow the mycelium in a thin sheet and then 3D print some kind of a polymer structure on top of that into the patterns that Aldo showed us earlier, which were kind of interesting in terms of, the polygonal structures. Do you think, Aldo, that would increase the strength of the mycelium sheet?
Absolutely. I was checking now for the electrospin I took already note what you were saying. It's something that we didn't test so far, but we are trying to work now on the development of a fiber. We already have always at the industrial level a quite good partner that could collaborate, that is already willing to collaborate with us in that direction. Yeah, I will take note of your comments and dig a little bit deeper. Maybe we can discuss about it. And I will, in any case, tell you what we are now developing with them. In terms of 3D printing, it could be interesting. There was, you were mentioning now, work on very thin layers of mycelium in order to create these textile solution. No, there was a project from Reshape 2018 that was also exploring this possibility, and it was quite interesting because the team developed not only a protocol to grow mycelium, but also how to harvest and create a textile that could be then work and manipulated through the pattern making as you normally do in the fashion industry. So he had the very good, they achieved to control in a very good dimension and size the characteristics and the reaction of this organism. And it could be interesting also maybe to implement afterwards 3D printing as well with the CO2 sphere that you were mentioning, and potentially use 3D printing for what it really brings, which is local intelligence over textiles. And this is, I think, a little bit a simple system, no? How to locally manipulate a uniform and rigid structure, and this manipulation, once the forces are released, could be also interesting because it could create a sort of a corrugation over the initial substrate of mycelium. So it could be probably an interesting negotiation, no, between this system, and it could be probably even a scapegoat to create three-dimensionality. If you start to 3D print over textiles that can be pulled and stretched, you will see that the moment that you release, they have a three-dimensional shape. So in mycelium, I understand it could be more complex, but you will be locally increasing the stiffness, of this material. So it's appealing. I mean, interesting research line, Robert.
Thank you so much, Aldo. And we are actually approaching the end of the session. It's almost 11 o'clock here in Spain. I do want to thank both of you for this wonderful brainstorming / presentation. It excites me to see all these professionals looking into new solutions, looking into breaking the boundaries of creativity, creating new experiences, and forging the future. So please, everyone, I want you to thank you for being here. Aldo and Kyung Lee, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge. And until next time, December 15th, when we will have the third session of the roundtable, thank you very much, everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you.